tells you that Wilt Chamberlain is one of the greatest athletes in the history of the world, still holding track records at the University of Kansas, played volleyball, played with the Harlem Globetrotters, one of the most dominant basketball players in the history of the game. And that's just to say what he did that we know about. He may have been a hell of a baseball player that we don't know about. What we do know is this. When you're well-rounded, it's never a bad thing. If you can speak English and Spanish, if you can play the drums and guitar, if you can play basketball and football, it always helps you. If you play soccer, you will meet people from other countries and other cultures and make you a well-rounded person. At what point does focusing on one thing ever make you better? You know what that actually does? That is the breeding ground for discrimination and racism. I'm gonna say that again. That is the breeding ground for discrimination and racism, because if I never bump into somebody who is from Carolina like the homie Jungle, or is from New Jersey from the homie number one Chief Rocker, who is from Texas like Brady Kev, who is from Chicago like my man Joe from Houston, Joe from Houston from Chicago, it's a long story. But if we never intermingle, we never learn. Again, if you never intermingle, you never learn. You adapt new things. You don't know that soda water and pop is the same thing. You don't know that sneakers and gym shoes are the same thing. You don't know that Yorkshire is bread that is baked by some people every night at dinner. You don't understand that black women keep hot sauce in their purse. It's called the black salad dressing. Get to know you somebody else. But back to sports. That's why I think the brother Syndergaard named Crank Chris Sales. I'll tell y'all about Chris Sales on another show. I think he's a crank. And a crank in Chicago means a punk. See, if you didn't interact with me, you wouldn't even know that a crank is a punk. But I do believe if they start letting these young boys play for the love of the game and develop their bodies at a normal rate, then and only then will some of these issues dissipate. I do remember hearing the great Nolan Ryan saying, as they asked him, how did you never hurt your arm? He said, because I did other things and I also threw the baseball. Bob Gibson said the same thing. A lot of those old school pitchers said the same thing. So if the dudes who was 50 years ago were saying it, and the dudes who focusing now are getting hurt, do you really have to back salad dressing? Oh yeah, my man Jungle Brother. Yeah, man. But that's what it is, man. We not letting these young people play for the hell of the game, man. And that's why a lot of them, in my opinion, again, man, ain't nobody ever said we forgot about prime time. No, we said prime time, Chief. We said prime time. Chief Rocker's in the building. Much love, brother. And I appreciate everybody who's participating in the chat room. I love it, man. And the people who listen in the background, I like that as well. Thank y'all for tuning in. If you get a chance, hit that blue bird. That's the Twitter. Share it on your Twitter. Hit that blue F. Share it on your Facebook. That's helping us out. And hit that like button. That's helping us out more than anything. I only see a few likes right now, and I see less likes than the people in my chat room, which means it's bogus. So I'm gonna need y'all to step up. Hit the like button. Tell a friend to check out your man HRap B, End of the Bench podcast. You know what, man? I'm about to take this to the first break. Drop some knowledge on y'all about a brother who was he was a prisoner of war by the first president of the United States. Y'all gonna love it. This your man HRap B. This the End of the Bench podcast. Built for this network. 2 fingers, 1 word, and I'll be back shortly.
What up, African world? It's Home Team here, and welcome back to another video of African history, culture, and worldview. And today, we're going to be talking about the life story of Harry Washington, the enslaved African of America's first president, George Washington. By supporting this channel on Patreon, you're helping in the creation of these videos and supporting this content. If you'd like access to courses and sources, or you simply want to show your support, you may do so by clicking the Patreon link in the description box below. The enslaved African of America's first president, George Washington, was known as Harry Washington. It's believed that he was born in the region around the Gambia River around 1740. He was brought to America early in the 1760s on one of the shipments to the lower Potomac River area in 1760 and 1761. Late in 1763, George Washington purchased Harry from the estate of Daniel Tebbs, a plantation owner on the lower Potomac River. George Washington had formed a syndicate called the Dismal Swamp Company with the intention of draining 40,000 acres of a huge swamp in the southeast corner of Virginia. The Dismal plantation was managed by his brother John, and Washington's contribution to the enslaved workforce was 4 people he bought from Tebbs' estate, Harry being among them. They worked in appalling humidity, enveloped in clouds of mosquitoes to cut a canal 3 feet deep and 10 feet wide that would drain into a lake 5 miles away. To get cash for the project, they also cut shingles of white cedar and cypress out of the vine-entangled woods. Harry was later described as a very valuable hostler, so his job must have included looking after Washington's horses. He continued to work as a house servant until June 1771, when he appeared in a list of the enslaved laborers on Ferry Plantation, most distant of the Mount Vernon farms. For Harry to be moved from skilled work to grueling plantation labor must have dismayed him greatly, and perhaps became the motivation for his planned escape. George Washington paid for a search party to retrieve him, and in a matter of weeks, Harry was captured and returned. Ironically, after some time, he was returned to the house to labor there. George Washington spoke openly about Americans asserting their rights, and Harry no doubt heard about disgruntled Virginians during this time. Harry, realizing an opportunity, escaped once again and managed to get the ear of the British, where he offered his services. Harry was absorbed into an all-black army corps called the Black Pioneers, formed in May 1776. Just 3 years later, he became a corporal in the Black Pioneers, which made up a 7,000-strong force. This force participated in the invasion of South Carolina and the siege of Charleston. However, in the end, the British were defeated, and Harry became part of a black community consisting of about 4,000 people who found safe haven in the British zone in New York. Nervous about the British defeat, Harry wasn't exactly sure what fate might bring him. However, the British kept their promise to former enslaved runaways and sent him to Nova Scotia in a settlement they named Birchtown. Disgruntled about unfair treatment and difficult land cultivation, the black settlers protested to the British government, and Harry, along with others, were then relocated to the British colony in Sierra Leone. Unfortunately, the black settlers in Sierra Leone and West Africa weren't given what was promised. On top of that, the British began excessively taxing them. Harry and others went to the mountains and started their own farms. Still, ardent about gaining more rights for his participation in the fighting with the British, he continued to protest, but to no avail. The black settlers were considered agitators, and they were all arrested and tried by a military tribunal. All of them were subsequently banished from the community, and unfortunately, that's the last we hear of Harry Washington. But it is interesting that an enslaved African was able to outwit one of the most celebrated figures in American history. Well, I'm all out, guys. If you like these videos and want to help in its continued production, consider supporting the home team on patreon.com. The link is in the description box below. Know thyself. Remember your ancestors. Peace.
This your man, HRap B, built for this network. This is the End of the Bench podcast. I hope you enjoyed that tidbit. It's always good and empowering to hear about people in our community, and not just as indentured servants or prisoners of war. It's about hearing that these people of our ancestry stood up and did something about what was going on, and did not accept the oppression that was being laid upon them. I had to step away for a second, talk about diversities with athletes. When I was in school, you had to at least try for more than one sport in order to play your main sport. Exactly, Rated Care. The goal was to help you find interest in other focusing instead of focusing on one sport. Shout out to Rated Care. Exactly. It helps you mentally. Yeah. It helps you mentally. It helps you be a better person. Otherwise, you just focus and you don't move left and move right. Just like my mom used to say, stop tasting food with your eyes. It tastes way better when you put it in your mouth. I don't like that. You don't know if you don't like something unless you try. Point blank period. It's something you need to try. Now, let me go to the hot and sticky part of the conversation. It's the National Football League. And here we go.
Come on. We will win. Because we will hit all game. We are motivated. We are dedicated. Come on now. We will win. Because we are the best on the field. Then we hit the field like all day light, all night light, on the blue light, offense light, defense light, his squad light, house call light, in the sound light, in the sound light, in the sound light.
What's up, y'all? Last time I talked about National Football League. Football, obviously. It's from the home of redundancy. But we're going to talk about a little football, man. A lot of people hey, I hope y'all got your big boy pants on. But I'm going to get, my favorite topic is defending the brothers. And one of the brothers one of the things I'm going to keep doing is when I see an injustice enacted against one of the brothers, I got to step up and speak on it. And how I'm going to speak on it is this. I do believe that the National Football League is attempting to even the playing field when it comes to quarterbacks that look like me. I'm going to throw out some things that has been told to me for the last umpteen years, so many decades of my life. I've heard this all the time, but now they're not living up to that. The first thing is, this is a win-now league. A win-now league means we're going to always do our very best to get the best out of our players right now, because if we don't, we may miss our opportunity, or as my homegirl always said, you're going to miss your beat. You'll miss your beat and not get an opportunity to excel. With that being said, how is it that Tom Brady, a 43-year-old man, and Phillip Rivers, a 39-year-old man, both of these guys are past their primes. Both of these guys had arguably the worst seasons of their career last season. How did they get jobs before young guys? Because to win now, look, I don't care if Tom Brady is eating avocado peanut butter. I don't care how much you take care of yourself, but age don't allow you to give up. I'm gonna step out on the limb, and not like the homie Mike Greenberg has been doing all week, saying, "Oh, you can't hold my feet to the fire for this because I got plausible deniability." I will do this. I've stepped out on a limb every year, and I don't think I've been wrong yet. The first year, I made the prediction that at some point it was going to be a team winning the NCAA tournament with some people that we don't know who the hell they are. And that happened last year, Texas Tech versus Virginia. I told her within 3 to 5 years, this is the 4th year I've been doing this. 3 years later, bam, they did. The next year, last year, I told y'all this is going to be all about the running game in the National Football League this year. Y'all keep running it. It's a passing league nonsense. What happened last year? It turned into a run first league. I made a couple other predictions I don't want to go into them. I'm not trying to break my arm, pat myself on the back. But this is the next prediction. Tom Brady will have either a calf, an elbow, or a hamstring to hinder his progress next year. Everybody keeps talking about Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. He might be the most decorated quarterback of all time, but he's not the greatest. And even if he is the greatest, he will be 43 at the youngest the next time we start playing football. About damn time. I called the show. My man Rough Buff in the building. Thank you, Rough Buff. But he is not, in my opinion, the greatest.